Hello and welcome to a video lecture on fluid mechanics, which is a course in VTU BA Mechanical Engineering. So, in this video lecture, we look at session number 5. So, in the previous sessions, we have looked at buoyancy and we saw some problems on buoyancy, and also we saw some basics of fluid kinematics. So, in this session 5, we look at continue with the fluid kinematics concepts. So, we are looking at the fluid kinematics, and as you saw in the previous sessions, kinematics deals with the study of fluid flow without considering the forces which causes the motion or flow of the fluid. So, here we study the behavior of the fluid flow. So in such cases, here we will understand now the different flow patterns or different types of fluid flows. So here one of the fluid flow is, again we can classify the flow of the fluids as laminar or turbulent flows. So as you can see here in the picture, we have laminar flow and the turbulent flow. So here you can see that in laminar flow, we assume that the fluid is flowing in terms of layers one upon another. So each layer or each sheet of fluid is flowing one upon another. So here you can see each layer of the fluid is moving in a straight line with one upon another. So each sheet is flowing, the fluid element or the fluid is flowing in the form of sheets without any disturbances, and in such case the fluid flow is called as laminar flow. So here you can see that whenever the fluid flow occurs such that each layer or sheets of the fluid elements flow in the form of layers without mixing with other layers, we say that it is a laminar flow. And to characterize this or to understand laminar flow and turbulent flow, we have a number called as Reynolds number, and for laminar flow, the Reynolds number should be less than 2000. And again, coming to turbulent flow, here you can see the same picture. This is laminar flow and this is turbulent flow, and you can see that the sheets they are no longer, the fluid element is no longer flowing in the form of a straight line or in the form of layers or sheets one upon another. So the profile or the contour is changing for the fluid sheets or the fluid lamina here. So here what happens is the sheets or the fluid elements, they get mixed with each other, and this occurs because when the velocity of the fluid is more. So when the velocity of the fluid increases, what happens is the sheets the sheets of the fluid, they get randomized and they get mixed with other layers. Okay, and this causes what is called as turbulences or disturbances. So this is usually turbulence is nothing but whenever the fluid is flowing, the fluid element is not flowing smoothly, there will be some disturbances, some vibrations. So we call it as turbulence. So there will be eddy currents because of this waves, because of the disturbances of the sheets fluid flowing, there will be eddy currents generated, and this may causes the flow reversal. So there will be eddy currents formed because of the mixing of the fluid layers here. So this is called as turbulent flow, and this is the laminar flow in which the fluid is flowing like sheets with one upon another. And as I told you that we use the Reynolds number to characterize this type of flow, that is Reynolds, that is laminar flow and turbulent flow. So whenever the fluid is flowing at some high velocity or velocity, because of the turbulence, what happens is the Reynolds number will be greater than 4000. So whenever the Reynolds number is greater than 4000, we say that the fluid is turbulent. and if the Reynolds number is less than 2000, we say it is laminar flow. So in between 2000 and 4000, there will be a mixture of laminar and turbulent flow. So we call this as transition flow. And to calculate the Reynolds number, we use this formula here. So rho v d by mu. So you learnt in previous sessions, maybe in the chapter number 1, module 1, whenever the fluid is flowing in layers, because of the friction, it causes what is called as the phenomena of viscosity. So because of the friction between the layers, viscosity will be there. So in Reynolds number, we take into account this viscosity. So mu is the dynamic viscosity, which is nothing but the result of friction between the layers whenever the fluid is flowing. So this causes the change in number, and also the density of the fluid, density of the liquid or gas will affect the Reynolds number. And v is the velocity. So obviously we saw here that whenever the velocity is higher, turbulence, it results in turbulence flow. So for fluid to remain in laminar flow, we have to maintain some constant velocity. Velocity should not increase over some point. So this velocity also affects the Reynolds number. And d is nothing but the diameter or cross-sectional dimension of the flow of the fluid in a pipe or in an open section. So this, using these terms, you can calculate the Reynolds number, and these will affect the Reynolds number. So we want the dynamic viscosity to be higher. So the dynamic viscosity of the fluid is higher, Reynolds number will be less, and if you maintain Reynolds number less than 2000, we will get the laminar flow. So for higher dynamic viscosity fluids, the flow will be laminar flow, and also it depends upon the density of the fluid, velocity of the fluid, and the cross-sectional section of the dimension of the cross-section here, or the diameter in case of circular pipe or whatever it is. So here you have to remember this formula to calculate the Reynolds number. So based on this number, we can say that it is a laminar flow or turbulent flow. So coming to next kind of flow, that is we can characterize the flow, we can classify them as incompressible flow and compressible flow, or compressible fluids or incompressible fluids. So as the name indicates, incompressible and compressible, usually the liquids are incompressible, and gases, we take them as compressible. So whenever the fluid is flowing, so it depends upon the fluid density. So if the density of the fluid does not change when it is flowing, we call it as incompressible flow. And whenever the fluid density changes, whenever the fluid is flowing in a particular direction, we call it as compressible flow. So here you can see that compressible fluids are liquids or gases which undergo compression, and incompressible means, so they are hypothetical fluids and they will not undergo any compression. So basically it is, density will not change, and also in compressible fluids, volume, whenever you apply the pressure, volume will be changing, so it's compressible. Incompressible means volume does not change. So volume is nothing but it is related to density, so you can say volume also here. And again, to analyze the compressible flow and incompressible flow, so compressible flow are very difficult to analyze, and incompressible fluids are very easy to analyze. The dynamics of that fluid flow is easy compared to the dynamics of compressible fluids. So here density is constant means it is a incompressible flow. If the density is changing, it is a compressible flow. So remember, this incompressible and compressible is related to density of the fluid. So again, incompressible flow, I told you that it is the density of the liquid or the fluid will be constant. So you can easily model that. So examples are liquids or gases when the temperature and pressures does not change. So because we know that temperature and pressure, because of temperature and pressure, the density of the fluid will change. So When the temperature and pressure does not change, density also does not change. So we call it as incompressible flow. Compressible flow are very complex to model, and density it will be changing whenever the temperature and pressure also changes. So basically you can see here it is an incompressible fluid. We are applying pressure and volume remains same. So this is incompressible fluid. In case of compressible fluids, when you apply some pressure, the volume will be changing V1 to V2. So it is a compressible fluid. Usually gases are compressible. And also compressible flows are because flows will be usually high speed flows. So whenever the speed of the fluid flow increases, so density tends to change because the temperature and pressure also changes. So that causes change in density of the fluid, and we call that kind of fluid flow as compressible flow. So remember that compressible flow occurs at high speed for high speed flows. So all the high speed flows will be usually compressible flows. Also we saw in the previous case that when you increase the velocity of the flow, it causes turbulence. So we have to maintain a particular velocity so that we have laminar flow, and also the flow will be incompressible. And again, coming to the different kinds of flows, we have rotational and irrotational flows. So as you can see here, rotational means each fluid element, the direction you can see here, each fluid element will tend to rotate at about its own axis. So if you take whenever the fluid is flowing, you take a small element in that, and if the element rotates about its axis, okay, we call it as rotational flow. And if the element does not change its axis or rotates around its axis, we call it as a irrotational flow. So the flow in which the fluid particle, when it is flowing along a streamline, rotates about their own axis, we call it as rotational flow. So that is important. The fluid element should rotate about their own axis. Only then it is a rotational flow. Whenever the fluid is flowing along a streamline. So streamline means all the particles will be flowing in a straight line or in a particular manner. So irrotational means whenever the fluid element or fluid particles do not rotate about their own axis, whenever the flow is occurring along a streamline. So here you can see all the elements are moving in the straight line in a particular pattern, and they are not rotating about their own axis. So this is the rotational flow, this is irrotational flow. So that streamline, what is the streamline and path line, streak line, stream tube, we will see now. So first is the path line. So the path, as the name indicates, it is a path or the line traced by a fluid particle when it is flowing, whenever the fluid is flowing with respect to over a period of time. So here you can see here the flow is occurring, and we take one particular element, and this element, fluid element or fluid particle, it follows some path from T1 to T2. So this path which the fluid element or particle takes when the fluid is flowing, we call this as path line. So usually for laminar flow it will be straight line. If it is turbulent, it will be somewhat like this. So we can say that example is, we can make analogy with an ant. So ant is here and it moves from its place. It randomly moves, okay, from here to here. So this path traced by that ant, we call it as path line. So you can take analogy with anything which is moving. Okay, the path traced by that movement of the particle is called as path line. And streamline. So streamlines are nothing but, again, it's a path taken by the fluid element from one section to other section. And mathematically we can say that it is a straight line, imaginary line, such that whenever you draw the tangent at any point, it gives the velocity of the fluid particle at that point and at that instant. Example, you can say, suppose this is a pipe in which the fluid is flowing and there is no obstruction, there is no obstacle, so all the elements will be flowing in a straight line. So each, if you take the tangent of that fluid element, it gives the velocity at that particular point. So whenever you put an obstacle, so what happens is the path traced by the flow or the element, it will be overtaking. It will follow, it will get diverted, and again it moves after the obstacle is over. It follows the straight line. So this flow breaks up at the obstruction, at the obstacle, and again it joins, is called as the streamline. So streamlines are nothing but simply the path taken by the fluid particles whenever the fluid is flowing, and whenever the obstacle is there, they again the particle get diverted and again joins the initial path. So that is called as streamline flow. So mathematically it's an imaginary line such that when you take a tangent, for example, you take a point here, and if I draw the tangent, so you take a point here, if I draw a tangent, take a point here, if I draw the tangent, it gives the velocity of the fluid particle at that point. So example, you can see the path traced by the flow. So this is the path streamlines. So whenever the obstruction is there, okay, or if you keep any obstacle, whenever the fluid is flowing, the fluid breaks up, so fluid opens up here and again it joins. You might have observed this, whenever the fluid is flowing, you just keep a stick or any object, it will get diverted and again it will join. So that lines are called as, imagined lines are called as streamlines of the fluid flow. And streak line, so we have streak is nothing but it's an imagined line that connects all the fluid particles that has gone through a point over a period of time in a fluid motion. So this is the fluid is moving. In that you take a line, you take some points, so all the points will be moving through these, all the particles or all the elements will be moving through these points from time 1 to time 2. So that is called as streak line. So it's an imaginary line that connects all the fluid particles that has gone through a point or a section over a period of time. So through this point, all the elements will be passing at a particular period of time. That is called as streak line. And we are just like a streamline, we are stream tube. So we have all the streamlines moving in the form of a tube. So it's an imaginary tube. Okay, just imagine a circular cross-section tube where all the streamline are flowing, which enters at one cross-section and again it exits at the other cross-section. So this forms a surface, circular tube-like surface. So that streamlines which are moving in the form of a pipe, we forming a surface, we call this as a stream tube. So here you can see that no flow takes place across the stream tube. So a tube is simply it's flowing. So in this tube the fluid is not flowing actually. The fluid itself forms a tube-like structure and it will be moving. So this is used in analyzing the fluid flow and dynamics to derive one important equation which we'll see in the next module in fluid dynamics. So particularly it's Euler's equation. We are using this stream tube concept to analyze the fluid dynamics and to arrive at some equation called as Euler's equation. So once we have seen the types of fluid flows, so here one of the important phenomena or important calculation in the fluid flow is the rate of flow or the discharge. So usually you might have heard about this discharge or rate of flow in case of dams whenever rain is coming or whenever there is no rain, dams will be storing, and we want certain amount of water to be left through the dam from one place to other. So there this discharge calculation comes into picture. So as the name indicates, discharge or rate of flow. Rate means how much quantity of the fluid or liquid is flowing, okay, per time through a particular cross section. So in case of a dam, if you take that cross section as a gate, when you open the gate, so much amount of liquid or water will be flowing through that gate space per time. So that is called as rate of flow or discharge. So usually discharge is given in terms of meter cube per second, or its volume per second. So in case of liquids, we take the units as meter cube per second or liters per second. In case of gases, it can be taken in meter cube or newtons per second. So in simple words, we can say that rate of flow or discharge Q is nothing but the amount or quantity of the fluid flowing per second through a section or through a cross section of a pipe or any channel, anything like dam, whatever it is, through a gate or through a cross section. So for incompressible fluid flow, particularly liquid, the rate of flow or discharge is expressed in terms of volume of the fluid flow across the section per second. So it's again the same thing here, volume meter cube or liters per second for incompressible fluids, particularly liquids. For compressible fluids like gases, the rate of flow is expressed in terms of the weight of the gas or in terms of volume of the gas per second. So here mathematically, how do you calculate the discharge? So it is calculated through the cross-sectional area. So the cross-section through which the fluid is flowing, that cross-section is taken. At the same time, the velocity will be multiplied by velocity of the fluid flow. That will give you the meter cube per second or volume per second. So area is meter square, velocity is meters per second. So if you do that, the units will be meter cube per second. So this is the mathematical formula to calculate the discharge or the rate of flow. So Q is nothing but rate of flow. It's nothing but the product of the cross-sectional area through which the fluid is flowing and also the velocity of the fluid. So if you multiply these two, you will get the discharge in meter cube per second, because area is in meter square, velocity is in meters per second. So that will give meter cube per second. So this is how you calculate the discharge or the rate of flow of the fluid. So this will be very much useful in all the cases in industries or in civil engineering or irrigation, where the liquid, particularly water or any gas, is flowing through inside the pipe or in open channels or wherever. So that's how we calculate the discharge here. Okay, so with this we'll stop the session, and in this session we saw different types of flow, particularly laminar flow, turbulent flow. Then we saw about incompressible flow and compressible flow, and also we saw about rotational and irrotational flows. And we defined what is path line, streak line, streamline, and the stream tube. And finally we saw about the how to calculate the rate of discharge for liquids and gases using this formula Q is equal to A into V. So this will stop the session. Thank you.